welcome to episode 90. Episode 90, that's a big number.
It is a big number.
Of the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
And I'm Ian.
As always, you can email us any questions or comments to contact@lifeingeneralpodcast.com. Check us out on Twitter @LIGPod. We are on Facebook, iTunes, Podbean, Google Podcast, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, just about everywhere else. What's going on, Ian?
Not a whole lot. How you been?
Living the dream, brother. Living the dream.
Feels like it's been forever since we recorded.
Yes.
Like it's been a week or so.
Like a week. It's been incredible.
I know.
I still feel like hell.
Yeah. You look like it, too.
Yeah, I know.
So, anywho.
Been run over by a truck, it feels like. But 20 pounds of shit in a 10-pound bag. That's about how I feel. Right?
That just describes me, period.
Because you are 20 pounds of shit.
I wish it was only 20 pounds of shit.
Yeah, well, in your head.
Well, that's true. How much does a brain weigh?
I don't fucking know.
You're the one going to nursing school.
Yeah, we don't weigh fucking brains.
They do when, well, they weigh them when you die.
Okay. Am I a mortician?
I don't know. I think it'd be cool to be a mortician, actually. I just don't want to have to do, like, partial medical school.
Someone we work with is, wants to work in the morgue. I don't remember who it is, though.
I think it'd be cool to do that. It's like half medical school. I just don't want to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't want to go. If I was going to go to medical school, I might as well go for the full-blown medical degree. Yeah,
you're a little old for that, though.
Yeah.
You'd be like in your 50s.
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, if I'm going to go back to school, I want to get my PhD in psychology, and that's a 12-year program.
That's a big fucking waste of money.
No, not necessarily. Hey, for all this other pseudosciences out there, that at least it's more respectable.
Yeah, I guess. I just don't. There's not. I don't know. I don't know if there's a big market out there
for psychologists.
Yeah, I mean, because it's. I mean, I know there's a market out there. I just don't know how well it pays to go to that much schooling.
If you get a private practice, it pays really fucking well.
Okay. All right.
But the problem is, I'd be starting my career in my 50s, and I don't want to do that.
No. Yeah, you'd be an old bastard.
Well, I mean,
you're an old bastard as it is.
Right. Well, 50 is the new 30, remember?
As we established on the last episode, you are a 75-year-old man.
Apparently only when it comes to technology, though.
Yes, but that's, yeah. That counts enough.
No, I'm just me. I am what I am.
Is it Popeye? What is it?
No, he said it too.
Yeah. Who else said it then? You said two.
Well, I'm sure other people have said it. Even before Popeye. I don't know. You tell me.
You're the one that said it?
You're the one who brought it up.
No, you how the hell? I didn't fucking bring it up. You did, you dumbass.
All I said was, I am what I am. And you're like, that was blah, blah, blah. You didn't have to go that far. You didn't have to delve into the depth of my statement.
So,
what are we talking about today, Nick?
We are talking about something that we talked about 80 episodes ago.
Okay.
So this is a hell of a throwback.
Not the same thing, but it's a.
So back when we started this little podcast, we had this idea of, every once in a while we do like an idol show.
Right, a show that about people we admire.
Yeah. And we did. It was episode 10. I don't remember who you talked about.
Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, I talked about FDR.
FDR, yep.
Talked about FDR. And then, so the idea was...
That was going to be like a monthly thing.
It was going to be like a monthly or, every other month or something like that.
And we never did it again.
We haven't come back to it for 80 episodes. But, alas, we have.
Yes.
We have returned.
Yeah. And it'll probably be another 80 before we do it again.
Yeah, because I had a lot. It was an interesting conversation. I did go back and listen to it not too long ago. I didn't listen to the whole episode because I just don't. Because I'm a terrible podcast listener, but whatever.
Well, you're terrible at a lot of things.
Fuck off. And we just kind of went over why we thought that person was, or that individual was, could be elevated to that level of an idol or whatever.
Right.
Not an idol, but someone we admired. Right. I think that's probably better.
Yeah, just the things we admire about them. I mean, things they've done or accomplished, whatever.
So what did you bring to the table this time?
I was going to let you go first.
Let's see.
You already know who I'm doing. I'm sure you know.
Let's see your notes. Throw your.
I don't need notes for this. It's someone I admire. I know.
Who?
Ian Anderson.
That's funny. So that's really funny because the first episode we did this, we both, and I don't think we knew who each other was doing before we started the show, and we both picked political characters.
And this time we both picked musicians.
Yeah, we did.
I was gonna say who because I figured you'd guessed who mine was because I said it would be an easy one.
Okay.
So because I've been a fan of Ian Anderson since I was like 12, and I'm now 41.
You're named after him.
I was named after him, but I fought it for a long time.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't. It was just that stuff my dad listened to. I didn't really give it much listen, but when I was 12 or so, I because he was constantly like throwing it at me. He's like, "Here's a mixtape. Here's I made you a copy of that album on cassette," and because he was always into like doing that because he only had cassette player in his car, so he'd take the CDs and make copies on cassette so he could listen to it in the car. So he's always like, "Here, I got an extra copy of this one." I was like, "Okay, Dad, sure." Put it in a.
So what was it? What song was it that you were like?
Cross-Eyed Mary was the first one that was like, wow. This is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was summer of 90.
It gave you like musical tingle?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it was like, it just, I don't know. That
spoke to you?
It spoke to me because it was Aqualung that I had on cassette, the album Aqualung, and I put that in. Aqualung, I was familiar. Yeah. I was familiar with it. And it was like one of those times during the summer where there's like nothing to do. Like, you're just bored. When you're a kid, that happens.
Yeah.
Especially back in the day before the internet and all that. Streaming services, and I didn't have cable either. So it was like, what the hell? I just grabbed that cassette out. I was like, I'll listen to that. And Aqualung, like I said, I'd heard it. It was nothing special. But then Cross-Eyed Mary, I'd never heard Cross-Eyed Mary before, at least that I remembered. I was like, huh. And then I just like listened to that album and started going through the other tapes my dad had given me. And, before you know it, I was like, okay, I guess I'm a fan now.
I guess, and obviously I had heard Jethro Tull before. I wasn't like a big fan, and I think mine was Baker Street Muse, which is
because I'm sure I was the one who played it for you, right?
I don't remember. Yeah, I'm sure it probably was. I think you probably made me. I'm sure I probably
gave you one of those mixtapes.
Yeah,
I had.
It probably was.
I was on CD at that point
because there was something off there. I remember like going to a varsity football game. And I had my little Walkman on, and I listened to that over and over again. But I think that's kind of where I became a fan of the.
That's
the
when it was like once I got to that kind of stuff, then it was like now I'm a super fan.
Yeah,
that level of intricacy in a song. Granted, it's a 16-minute song, but it's it's funny because that album, for the most part, Minstrel in the Gallery specifically, it has Baker Street Muse on it, is, I think, on the fan base level, considered to be like one of their greats. It's like up there with Thick as a Brick.
It should be. It's a fantastic album.
And for a lot of people, I would say there's like maybe even like a little battle. Like Thick as a Brick is their best album. No, Minstrel in the Gallery is their best album.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's not high. It wasn't highly regarded when it came out.
No,
the reviews on it were actually really poor.
Huh.
Considering it was kind of a return more to form for them as a rock band.
It really was
after their previous albums, specifically Passion Play and War Child, which were very like Englishy, a lot of saxophone going on.
Minstrel in the Gallery was much more like Benefit and Stand Up.
Right, it was just more rock. It had more a rock element to it.
Even like the way that they blended hard rock elements with acoustic elements and things along those lines.
Because it is a 50-50 album.
It really is. And that's why I kind of compare those more to, like I said, Stand Up and Benefit, those earlier albums.
That's not an unfair assessment. No. That's pretty accurate. I mean, the music had progressed. It was definitely more English rock.
Have you listened to the
Steve Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a fantastic album.
Steve Wilson, aside from maybe one or two little things he's done with Tull, and I can only really apply my judgment of his mixing to Tull because I'm familiar with those songs considerably. I've listened to those songs, each of them more than 100 times each. Aside from one or two little things he's done in the past, I think he has completely improved the entire catalog as far as
his
quality.
His mix of
mix.
Aqualung is fantastic.
It was the best that album has ever sounded.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I haven't heard it digitally. I've only listened to the remix.
You don't
on vinyl.
hear it quite the same, but it still sounds better.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, it's still better, but it's not. You don't quite hear the nuances that you do on the vinyl.
And it's funny too. I was listening to, and this is like completely off topic.
Not really. It's
well,
still
no. What I'm getting ready to say is, so recently I just got, like one of my like guilty pleasure bands has always been White Lion. I don't know why, but and I just got Pride on vinyl.
Oh, okay.
And I was listening.
I know
to
you'd
it.
ordered it.
I finally got it after 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks after order. But I bought off eBay. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Right.
I finally got it and I listened to it, and I had the album on cassette when I was younger, and obviously in the past decade I've listened to it a number of times digitally.
Yeah.
It's one of those albums that when you put it on and you listen to it, it sounds so much better. Like,
well, back then I think the music really was recorded to be on vinyl.
Not really. That was 87.
Oh, that's true. I mean, you're right.
It was
in my mind. It was still vinyl time, because I had more vinyl than I had cassette in 87.
Oh yeah, me too. But then again, I shouldn't say me too, because I didn't buy my first CD until like 98.
Well, this was before CD for me too. But I had a lot of cassettes, but I probably had more vinyl than I had cassettes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know. The cassettes I had were all like copies of my vinyl.
Yeah. But there's
so
like even like in some of the quieter parts on When the Children Cry, there's like a depth. There's like there's a richness to you hear more of the background sound than you do on the piece. I don't know. It's one of those albums, and I feel like there's a lot of albums I'll listen to, and it's like, okay, I can tell a small difference between listening to on vinyl and listening to the MP3 form. But there's a couple albums like Pride, like Dark Side of the Moon, where it's like you listen to it and it's like, it's almost like listening to a brand new song.
Right.
And Dark Side of the Moon is the same way. Is you pick up so much more of the sound than you do off the compressed MP3 version.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, we're always singing the praises of vinyl for that reason specifically, but yeah.
But it was one of those things where, like I said, it was like midway through When the Children Cry, and I was like, I just turned up the volume on my record player, and it's like, it sounds so fucking good,
right?
And that's an original pressing now. No, I'm sorry, that's not an original pressing. It was a 2011 pressing I was listening to, so it wasn't original. I do have.
So it was probably remastered digitally too, and still sounds a lot better.
Oh yeah, of course, because I've got an original copy of Big Game, which was the album that came after Pride. I've got an original pressing of that, and it's the same way. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I mean, some of my a couple of my Alice Coopers, Constrictor. By the way, Alice Cooper was the other one I was deciding between doing today.
Oh, okay.
So it was Alice Cooper or Ian Anderson, but maybe I'll do Alice Cooper on episode 160. When we do the next one. But anyway, Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yell were his two like hair metal records. Well, I guess they were the first two, because I guess Hey Stupid and Trash were two, but those are more like 90s hair metal. This is like early or mid 80s, so it was still rough, and when it was still before they went. All right, we'll say hair metal, but not glam.
Gotcha.
Okay. Whereas Trash and Hey Stupid might have been a bit more glam. This is just straight metal, or hair metal. Those are original pressings. They have not repressed those at all.
No?
No. And I doubt they will. They weren't his best-selling albums of all time. They're critically panned even to this day, which I don't understand.
Wait, which two?
Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yell.
Oh, I thought Raise Your Fist and Yell actually sold pretty good.
No. Well, it didn't really at the time. It sold okay, but it's considered his worst album ever, above Dada.
Really?
Yeah. And there's only one real instrument played on Dada other than singing, and that's guitar. Everything else is computer, which doesn't take away necessarily, but it's a hollow sounding album. Because
of course.
I still like the songs on it, but it's a hollow sounding album. But yeah, Razor Fist and Yell is, at least on several lists that I've looked at, is considered the worst album out of his catalog.
Okay.
And they rank his catalog.
Huh, that's interesting.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there because I still enjoy it. But listening to those on vinyl, those are original pressings from 86 and 87 respectively. And same thing. There's you hear things that you didn't hear before, even on cassette.
Yeah.
And you definitely don't hear digitally. And, it's why we push for vinyl, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but going back to Ian Anderson, the Steve Wilson mixes. There's only the only two problems I've ever had with Steve Wilson. He does this. He mixed the flute parts on this part in Passion Play, where it's like it's overdub fluting, so it's like two flutes.
Uh-huh.
Before there was a nice rhythm to it. Whatever he did throws the rhythm off. Now, for whatever it's worth, it might work. It may have worked better for him as a mixer, as a musician himself, and it may have been more in tune with what Ian Anderson wanted originally, but couldn't do it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, but it's a little off. And the same thing with the little drum part in "Thick as a Brick" Part 2. When the very beginning of the second side of the album, there's a bit of a drum solo kind of back and forth thing. Mm-hmm. The very last part where the drums like roll into like the rest of the music. On the original version, it's like it just flows so well.
And it does
and
with
it's
his.
off. There's something off in his mix on "Thick as a Brick." Again, it's not the choice I would have made. I prefer the original, the way it was originally. Mm-hmm. But those are the only two times where his mixes, I think, have been off. Every other time, they're spot on. They are improving. Mm-hmm. It's almost more subtle.
I've definitely liked them.
He's bringing the instruments up and giving them a clear separation of each other.
Yeah.
And
to me, it was kind of muddled before.
It was kind of I mean, all rock music is, and especially was in the 70s.
Yeah.
But just bringing a bit more subtlety and clarity to each individual instrument, which just makes the experience much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess back to what the overall plot of our episode here is, all those songs were written by Ian Anderson. Mm-hmm. There are little bits of musical input from the band. He's always admitted that, but overall, the songs, the heart of it,
he wrote most of them.
He's written personally over 360 songs.
Yeah.
And I mean, just as my personal opinion, I can't think of 10 that aren't good. I'm sure a lot of people can think of a lot more.
Yeah, I can think of a lot more than that.
But me personally, I can
pretty much the 80s.
No, see, those songs are still good.
Yeah, I just don't like them.
Well, you don't have to. That's the thing. But to me, they're still good songs. There's some good things going on in those songs.
Mm-hmm. I think some of it, I don't know, it just sounded forced, but
it's the 80s too. You're stubborn. What did I can't talk.
Are you having a stroke? Do you smell burning toast?
I do not smell burning toast.
By the way, that's an old wives' tale. That's not
Is
really,
it okay?
That's not really
well, good because there was that one day we both smelled toast at work.
Yeah.
There was no reason for us to smell toast.
We're both having strokes.
Well, you're the nursing student. Is one of the side of my face drooping at all?
No.
Okay.
Maybe slightly.
Wow, more than normal.
Yeah. Well, no.
Okay.
Just melting.
It's not melting. Anyway, it's an inside joke.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And then I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, the 80s. There's a lot of synthesizers going on there.
Yeah.
But there was in 73, too. The first album they ever used synthesizers on was Passion Play.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They were using synthesizers back then. I think the problem that you may have is the hollowness in the drums, specifically with, say, like Underwraps, because on Underwraps, all the drums are computer. Mm-hmm. And I get that. But there's also... they're doing different things with the other instruments that they hadn't done before as a result of that computer drumming.
No, I understand.
Because there's things the computer can do drumming that at the time their drummers couldn't do. So there was, as far as different beats and different off
I don't necessarily have an issue with like computer drums.
But it does sound hollow. And I can see where you're...
The drums at the beginning of time On Dark Side of the Moon, that's a computerized drum.
Right. It's again 73.
That Nick Ward's using.
Yeah. So, but he's using real drums too.
Yes.
Under Wraps is all.
But it's just the intro to time.
Right. And, but Under Wraps is very, very 80s. And I think.
Very 80s.
I think that might be the biggest problem.
It probably is. Because I hate that early 80s sound. And that's very
And I
early
don't
80s
mind it. I actually kind of dig it sometimes. And small doses.
Yeah.
Under Wraps is in my top 10 of Jethro Tull's albums.
Yeah.
Because of the other stuff going on there. But I guess ultimately what I admire about Ian Anderson is he doesn't, for better or worse, he's not playing to the audience as far as, the Rolling Stones are always going to put out Rolling Stones albums.
Yeah.
They're always going to do that. Ian Anderson is just going to do whatever he wants to do. And he kind of always has.
He has.
And I think it works. Some people might not think it works, but at least it's honest. At the end of the day, his music is honest, and it's what it is. It is what it is.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you? Now you're having a stroke? Wow. This episode is going downhill fast.
My meds are kicking in.
Your meds, okay. Well, I don't need to really focus too much on it.
No,
I mean he's a super talented songwriter. He's a talented musician. He plays multiple instruments. He's the only primary flute player in rock and roll.
Yeah.
Ever. There's a handful of others that have done it, but not anywhere near what he does.
No, not even close.
And to the quality that he does it.
And it's funny too because we both picked musicians, and the musician I picked is kind of. If you look at all the songs Ian Anderson wrote, the one I picked is the complete opposite.
Okay.
I don't think he ever wrote a song in his entire career.
Okay. Is it Joe Cocker?
But he's probably
more well known.
The most influential person in rock music history.
Okay.
And that's Elvis.
Well, I can't argue with that, but I disagree with the quality. I don't like Elvis. I've never liked Elvis.
But I mean, I think you can really say obviously he wasn't the first person to do rock music.
No, he was the first white person.
He was the first white person, and I didn't really know this until just recently when he recorded his first album, was first single.
It was like 54.
It was like 56 or 57,
okay.
something along those lines. There was a radio station that played it like 18 times the first day, and callers, the DJ was had to like calm people down and try to convince them that this was a white artist.
Wow,
because
they kept thinking it was a black artist.
Uh-huh.
What are you playing that music for? I think they used to call it jungle music back then.
I don't know what they're calling it, but that was the mid 50s in the South,
right?
So you can just imagine. It's
probably not too pretty reminiscent of the South in 2019.
And like I said, Chuck Berry was somebody that was doing that kind of music before,
and I think doing it better personally.
And arguably, you can make that argument, but without Elvis Presley making rock and roll accessible
to white people,
to white masses, you wouldn't have had a lot of that music. Bob Dylan is even quoted as saying that he thanks God for Elvis Presley because he was such a huge influence on all that music. There would have been none of that music through the 60s, through the 70s.
As far as the influence, I see him as like more of a kind of a conduit because, as you pointed out, we brought what was traditionally black music.
Yeah, and like I said,
he derivative of black blues.
And I don't think he wrote any of his songs.
He did. I don't think he did. Lyrically, I know he wrote some of the lyrics for sure.
I don't know.
I don't know about the music, but you're right. He wasn't a songwriter.
No,
as a rule. But taking that what was traditionally considered to be black Southern blues, and to a degree making it accessible, but also just making it his own. Because he did. I don't like Elvis. I never have. But he made it his own. And yes, he did incorporate some white Southern sound to it that's probably what made it more accessible. But made it popular.
Yeah.
In a way that music I don't even think was that popular before.
It was.
Not to
It
that
was.
degree. Not
rock,
to the degree.
rock and roll music wasn't.
But I'm even thinking like big band jazz. You didn't have screaming girls at big band jazz concerts.
No, well, I don't think so. But
You just didn't have that. Sinatra was later, but I mean, what kind of crooners? There weren't any crooners then in the 50s and 40s and all that. I think this was the first time where music was something that was like kind of raising it to that celebrity level.
And the other thing is you have to look at, and I was never a big fan of the movies he made.
Yeah, God, no, they're terrible.
But he made 31 movies.
Oh, I haven't even seen all of them, but the ones I've seen are
all
terrible.
all 31 of them were huge financial successes. Right. There for a time, Elvis was not only the most popular person in Hollywood, as far as he was the leading box office draw in Hollywood, he was also the highest paid actor for a long time.
Uh-huh. So he's kind of like the Will Smith of his time.
Kind of.
Because Will Smith was that
for a while.
Yeah. And a musician as well.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, of those 31 movies, I think there was only one movie that he didn't sing in. He only had one movie where he was like...
It was just a straight
acting role.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Some of his songs are okay. I like some of his later songs.
Uh-huh.
What's that ghetto song? In the Ghetto song?
In the Ghetto.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
okay. I like that because it's meaningful.
It is.
And Simple, is it Simple Minds? Is that the name of the song? Or Suspicious Minds. I like that song too.
I
actually like the cover by Rusted Root a lot better, but it's a good song.
The other interesting thing is, if you think of, because Elvis wasn't a widely popular musician for a very long stretch.
Right.
You figure
it was mostly his movies that he was popular for.
It was saying? So his first number one hit was in 56. Well, he died in 77, but there was a large gap. There was a large gap in the 60s
when he was doing movies,
where he wasn't really doing anything.
Oh.
So he did a 68 comeback special.
I remember that. Well, I don't remember it. It was 10 years before I was born. But
the reason that he did that special is because he was walking down the street in L.A.
and nobody was recognizing him.
No one recognized him. So it had been a long time since he'd done a tour or anything like that. So he did the special in 68, and then he started his Vegas show in 71.
Okay.
Somewhere along those lines.
I mean, that's where he ended it too, isn't it?
Yeah. But there was like from 68 until 77, he did some incredible number, like 1,200 shows or something like that, in that short 8-year or 9-year period.
Uh-huh.
Oh. But you figure in a 13-year span from 56 until 69, he had 18 number one hits. 18 number one hits in a 13-year span. That's a hell of a number.
Is it? I'm sure that number's been beat, though.
I don't know. I don't know in that time span. But the other thing is you have to look at, he had 150 gold or platinum albums over his career. 150. And it's estimated that Elvis sold over 1 billion records, and at least 40% of those albums were sold outside the U.S. But you know what the interesting thing is about that?
Huh.
Elvis performed exactly, I think, 5 shows outside the United States in his entire career.
And weren't several of them
all of them
for the troops?
All of them were on one tour in Canada.
Oh, didn't he? I thought he did was it PTO or
nope. The only
troop shows or whatever.
He did 5 shows outside the U.S. and they were all in Canada.
Huh. Which is just U.S. light.
It pretty much. But it's because a lot of people think it's because his manager was believed to be an undocumented immigrant, so he couldn't
leave the country.
He couldn't leave the country.
Ah. And he wouldn't really have to leave the country for Elvis to run up to Canada.
No,
he was like, "I'm in New York."
Exactly.
Just phone call away.
Uh-huh. Huh. But he was nominated for 14 Grammys. He only won 3 of them, but.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just I couldn't imagine selling that amount of records overseas. You're talking hundreds of thousands of records overseas, where he's never performed before.
Well, I mean, how many artists have you bought CDs and records for that you've never heard live?
Oh, well, most of them.
Most of them, yeah. And you have to think that this was at a time when you'd hear about this stuff. But it's not like you could just jump online or jump on your streaming service and find these songs. You had to go out and buy it. And when once you realize there's a market, the record labels are just going to flock merchandise there because they know there's a market there. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense for the time. I mean, that wouldn't happen today, but
yeah, I just double checked. It's 5 concerts outside the U.S., all on a 3-day tour of Canada in 1957.
Huh. So really, he just did. You said 3 days.
Yeah.
So one day he did 2 shows.
Yeah, and that's because Colonel Parker was a undocumented immigrant from Holland who would have been deported if he would have
actually would have had to do 2 shows for 2 days.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I mean, hey, that's pretty cool. Colonel Sanders, you mean? I always called him Colonel Sanders.
Really?
Kid, yeah.
Colonel Parker?
Yeah. The Colonel. Everyone just called him the Colonel. But
yeah, I think it's kind of hard to... It's hard to deny the influence he had over music.
You can't.
Even to today.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the obvious lineage. You know, if there wasn't Elvis, there would have been
the Beatles.
The
Beatles were influenced by Elvis.
Exactly.
They were at least influenced by his popularity. They wanted that.
I was trying to go for a not so obvious influence like the Beatles, but
everybody.
He in one way or another, he's affected music.
Alice Cooper. Even though Alice Cooper wrote a song that I really, really like, it's called Disgraceland. It's about Elvis in hell.
Oh, really?
It's awesome. Yeah, it's an awesome song.
Do you know where Graceland got its name?
No, I don't.
So when Elvis bought the property, I want to say he paid just a little over $100,000 for it in the 50s when he bought it. It was the previous owner had named the property after his daughter Grace.
Oh, okay.
So that's where Graceland got its name.
Oh, and he just kept the name.
He just kept it.
Oh, I would have changed it.
Why?
I like Disgraceland a lot better.
Of course you would.
Yeah, it's a funny song. It's not like it's just funny. I like it.
I was trying to find out where.
But yeah, as far as that goes, Elvis, you can't deny that it was a huge influence, even on Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne's named him as a heavy influence.
Yeah. Well, Elvis, just about everyone has.
Everybody. Well, I mean, of that era, I don't. You can't tell me that anyone playing new today, like new artists, are going to say, "Oh, Elvis was a huge influence." No. Most of them probably don't even know who Elvis is.
But the bands today are influenced by bands of the 80s and 90s who were influenced by bands in the 60s who were influenced by Elvis.
Yeah,
that's why I said lineage.
Generationally, yeah.
A generational lineage?
Yeah.
You want to say?
The DNA is still there, I suppose, in some cases. At least the puppetry of his persona.
I was trying to find one other thing I wrote down about him, but I found it was really interesting. But hell, I can't find it now, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
I know he had a record player in his car.
I don't know if he really did.
I've seen the car. It's
really?
At the Nashville Country Music Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I believe he is the only person. To have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Country Music Hall of Fame, and the Gospel Hall of Fame.
Oh. Well, 2 of those Hall of Fames I don't really care about.
I mean, it's still a hell of a feat.
It is. It is. Yeah, no argument there. I mean, I haven't been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I've been to the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville.
Have you?
Yeah.
That's funny because I've been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I've never been to the Country
And
Music
you
Hall.
lived in Nashville.
I didn't live in Nashville, but
well, you lived outside of Nashville.
30 minutes outside Nashville.
30 minutes. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is what, 2 hours?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half?
Yeah.
And you've been there, but you couldn't go 30 minutes
That's
away.
True. True. Apparently, Elvis nicknamed his penis Little Elvis.
Okay.
I don't know. If I was going to nickname my penis, it wouldn't be Little anything. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of devaluing it at some point to somebody.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to oversell it either.
I remember what I was going to bring up. It was his television performances on like Ed Sullivan and things like that. The Milton Berle show.
Mm-hmm. Those are extremely famous for what they did.
Yeah. Well, because he wasn't able to be shown from the waist down because it was his provocative
dance,
hip shaking,
which we all know he got from Forrest Gump.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's not true. But
hey, it's in the movie. It's true.
Yeah, and that's a movie I haven't seen. I haven't watched in a long time.
It's been a long time since I watched it. I used to watch it all the time, like once a year.
Really?
Yeah, but it's been probably 10 years since I watched it.
But I think he met Priscilla somewhere in Germany when he was on. I don't remember if he was in the army or just after he got out of the army.
She maintained her looks for a very long time.
Well, that's because she was like very fucking young when they met.
Yeah, but even when she was like in her 40s and 50s, she was still relatively attractive.
Because I want to say they were like she was 16 or something like that when they,
which was fine back then. That
In
was
the 50s?
acceptable. There's still states in this union right now where girls as young as 13 can get married.
Oh yeah, you just have parental consent.
Parental consent, yeah. So I mean, the 16 back in the 1950s wasn't that bad.
Like, well, I guess.
I mean, it's bad now. I see it as
bad.
bad, but at the time it wasn't considered bad because as long as they're married.
As much as I say, I mean, I've always liked Elvis. My aunt was a huge Elvis fan growing up. I think I only have one of his albums though.
See, I think that's the thing. If you had an Elvis fan in your family, you're probably more likely to like it, I guess. I didn't have any that I know of. No one ever brought it up.
No.
But my mom and my dad weren't huge Elvis fans.
I don't think my parents were either.
There's stuff from the 50s and stuff that my dad liked, but it wasn't that. It wasn't Elvis.
No.
But mostly his stuff was the 60s because that's what he grew up with.
Mm.
And my grandfather, it was just all country, bluegrass at that point. And, on my mom's side, it was, jazz guitar and stuff like that. So there wasn't a lot of Elvis going on anywhere or anything even remotely close to that. So I just never was, I was always aware of Elvis. I heard his songs. The 80s had this weird fascination with 50s stuff.
Yeah, like the 50s McDonald's and things
yeah,
like
exactly.
that.
So, there was always an exposure to an Elvis type, to Elvis's music and stuff. I just never got it. It just never connected with me.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I always kind of saw Elvis in the same way that I kind of saw like Britney Spears. Just kind of, she's got a good voice. He's got a good voice. She can dance. He can dance. Their managers control what they do. Their songs are written for them. They're just kind of puppets. I kind of just thought
I wouldn't say
Elvis
puppets.
was more than that, but there's a puppeteer element to it that I kind of always saw a correlation to or a connection to or similarity of.
And that was the kind of the funny thing is something I didn't know until not too long ago was, because everyone always kind of makes fun of Elvis for his guitar playing. The fact that they say he knew like 3 chords and that was about it. But
I was going to say, a lot of times in those old, he never really was playing it that much.
No. But I don't really know how true that is because I know he could play piano.
Right.
So there's not that much of a difference between piano to
guitar.
guitar.
Other than what your fingers are doing, but as far as the
notes and
the notes and the chords,
chords are all roughly similar. Yeah. There's actually kind of interesting. When he was 18, when he made his first like record. And when I say record, it was a 45.
Uh-huh.
I think it was a 45. But anyway, he paid $4 to make the record. He made it as a gift to his mother.
Oh. Yeah, it's fascinating.
So he was 18 at the time. And the other interesting thing, like Heartbreak Hotel was actually written about suicide. Which if you listen to the song, you don't really get any of that. But obviously it's the 50s. So
right. It would have either been completely undertone naturally, or they edited the lyrics to be undertone.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of fascinating urban legends around Elvis too, that first that he didn't die in 1977. He was faked his death and was still alive, floating around. I mean, that went on for years and years. But,
you don't really hear that much anymore.
Well, it's because he would be dead by now.
Well, he wouldn't, not necessarily.
How old? What year is he born?
I don't know.
You've got your notes. Ian Anderson was born August 10th, 1947, in Scotland.
I don't have it in my notes because his date of birth wasn't really all that pertinent.
No, but anyway, find out when he was born. And I'll tell you, there's a fascinating... It was an episode, I think, of The Hitchhiker. Do you remember that show?
I do.
It was an anthology.
He was born in January of 35.
35, okay. No, I mean... He'd probably, if he was still alive, he'd be in his 90s or approaching 90. He'd be like 85 now. But anyway, there's an episode of The Hitchhiker's anthology. So every hour-long episode was a different story.
84.
Okay, 84, yeah. And there was an episode where this Elvis impersonator, who's really good, like everyone's like, oh, you're the best Elvis impersonator ever, accidentally gets thrown back in time and accidentally kills Elvis. So he takes over for Elvis just to make sure the timeline stays right.
Yeah.
And like, I don't remember if he like intentionally overdosed at the end just to make sure that he died at the right time, but it was.
Huh.
I saw that as a child, and that still sticks with me today. Yeah. That episode. I wish I could find it. I've tried finding episodes of The Hitchhiker. They released one DVD with like 6 episodes on it once, and I don't think they released any more than that.
God, wow, that show. When was that show even out?
It was in the mid '80s on HBO.
Yeah.
So, because there was another episode with Kirstie Alley. I think Kirstie Alley was in it, and it had to do with photographs. And I don't remember exactly what was going on, but I remember being blown away by it when I was like 8 years old when I saw it. But anyway, there's a lot of fascinating like little tidbits of urban legend surrounding Elvis.
Yeah, like
that I've always enjoyed.
The cotton balls soaked in cocaine to wake him up every morning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting to see a lot of the parallels between Elvis and Michael Jackson. I mean, they take out the
fatness.
I was gonna say the pedophilia, but the controversy. We'll say because I don't know. I haven't watched that.
She was 14 years old.
Okay, maybe not so much the pedophilia.
Yeah, 14 years old.
Yeah.
They were married 8 years later.
Okay. I'm sure there was stuff going on before that. But anyway.
Oh, I'm sure.
Anyway, but yeah, there's a lot of similarities between the two of them, and not just the daughter anymore, as far as, because he did marry Lisa Marie.
Yeah. Well, Nicolas Cage married Lisa Marie also.
Yeah.
And Nicolas Cage is a big Elvis nut.
Yes, he is. He's a big nut.
Actually, I believe that Nicolas Cage is the only person outside of the Presley family that's ever seen Elvis's bedroom inside Graceland.
Really?
Yep. I think I remember reading that.
I don't know why that would even be such a thing. I don't want to see anyone's bedroom.
I kind of kicked myself in the ass for not going to Graceland while I was in Memphis.
Yeah.
And could have went if I wanted to.
You still can. It's not like it's another country.
I know, but it's a long fucking drive now from Michigan.
Well, whatever. It is, but, you know.
I was literally like 15 minutes down the road from Graceland.
Oh well. It doesn't interest me. It's like Dollywood.
Well, it's different, though, because Dollywood is an amusement park.
Yeah, I know, but there's just none of that stuff, you know. I wouldn't want to go see where Ian Anderson lived. I wouldn't want to see his house. It doesn't interest me. I don't want to see Alice Cooper's house. Actually, I might want to see Alice Cooper's house if it's anything like a stage.
I'm sure it's not.
Probably not, but you never know. He takes his stuff seriously. But none of that stuff interests me. It's all about, to me, it's about either the music or the performance, and you know, I don't even really want to be friends. I wouldn't want to be friends with any of these people either.
I don't know.
I'd meet them one time. That's shake their hand, say I like what you do, thank you, get an autograph, fan out a little bit. But other than that, I wouldn't. It demystifies everything.
By the way, I just found this thing. It says that Elvis recorded more than 600 songs, but did not write any of them.
Okay. I thought he had like co-writing credits on
maybe
on some stuff, and then I always thought it was like some of the later stuff. But those couple songs I really do like. I do enjoy those songs. There isn't much else, you know.
I mean, obviously,
as far as the 50s go, I liked some of the more bubblegum stuff. I liked the Buddy Holly stuff and the Richie Valens and
that. Yeah,
you know,
no, I understand.
And
what
Fats
you're saying.
Domino. And then even like the Dion stuff, just the bubblegum kind of stuff. That's what I think of when I think of the 50s.
Yeah.
And I don't need Elvis in there. Elvis, it's kind of unnecessary for me. I will admit that what came later we can attribute to Elvis, but for me, the 50s, there's so little of it that I enjoy anyway.
So I don't know. See, maybe that's why I enjoy Elvis, because there is a lot of the 50s music that I do like.
I mean, there is, but there's stuff that I like, but it's just not Elvis's stuff.
Yeah.
You know, his stuff doesn't do anything for me. I like that other stuff.
And that's the one thing I can say is he had a lot of music, that frankly wasn't all that great. Even
you don't record 600 songs and it'd all be good.
yeah, I know. The thing I did find interesting is that he always dyed his hair black. His hair was like
it wasn't naturally black.
No, it was like a light brown color.
Huh.
I felt it didn't fit his like persona.
Huh. Well, it was kind of like it was rockabilly before it was rockabilly.
Yeah.
I guess it would have been a mix of Southern swagger with greaser attitude, maybe? Is that what he was going for?
Maybe, I guess.
That would have been the time of the greasers.
It kind of fits along that line.
Yeah. I guess, well, maybe the greasers were a bit later than that. They were probably more like 59, 60.
Yeah. It was also kind of funny. In 54, he auditioned for a quartet called Songfellows, and they denied him.
Huh.
Yeah. I guess he kind of had the last laugh.
I guess, because I'd never heard of the Songfellows.
No one ever did.
Right.
No one ever did, at least.
Yeah. It's always that. There's always that story of either the band member who got kicked out or just said, no, I don't want to do it, and then the band gets famous, or the band that kicked that guy out and then he became famous and no one ever heard of them.
Yeah. Or like Michael Jackson. Not Michael Jackson. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team.
Really? Yeah. I mean, there's always that. Like those kind of stories. It's like, yeah, the greatest basketball player arguably in history, and at least up until maybe recently, but arguably the best. And he couldn't even make it on his own high school team. You know,
the funny thing is that I think this kind of goes towards the time and the way that the media, not necessarily the media, but society kind of viewed his music and the way his performances went down.
Well, everything was so conservative back then.
Oh yeah, so there was a judge. I didn't catch the year that this happened. I'm assuming, 57, 58, somewhere along 56, 7 or 8 along those lines. A Florida judge called Elvis a savage, and he said his music was undermining the youth of America.
Right. Well, they said the same thing. They ended up saying they said the same thing about the Beatles when the Beatles came along and the Stones.
But that's why he was forbidden from dancing the way he danced at concerts in Florida, I guess.
Huh.
So in protest, he wagged his finger, I guess, was his protest to not being able to wiggle his hips. It was the 50s, man. That's all I'm saying.
Forrest Gump was the devil. He taught him those devil moves.
with his braces on his legs.
With his braces on his legs.
Oops.
Anyway. Yeah, I mean, no arguments that there's a definite influence there. My personal opinion aside,
By the way, real quick on Colonel Parker, it was I don't know if this is actually like real or if this is one of those like urban myths, but before he started managing Elvis, Colonel Parker would buy sparrows.
Like birds? Sparrows?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he would paint them yellow and sell them as canaries.
Huh.
Well, interesting kind of things.
So what you're saying is Elvis was just a sham brought on by a hoaxer.
No. I wouldn't say that, but
he was a legitimate sham.
He was definitely so. Colonel Parker was definitely somebody that would look for an easy buck.
Yeah, shady gentleman.
Yeah,
shady character of ill repute.
Okay, sure.
Sorry, I'm getting tired.
That makes two of us.
Yeah.
My allergy meds are definitely kicking in, and I'm falling asleep. So
I thought that was just me talking.
No, we should probably wrap the show up some, I guess.
To the audience, we've had to record the last couple episodes. We've had to record very late at night on a Thursday.
Yeah, because our schedules have been kind of up and down.
Yeah,
so.
Your work and school schedule. I end up having to work a couple weekends, so it's.
Oh, there was another thing. This is what I was going to talk about. So there was something I found really interesting when I was going through all the Elvis stuff. Obviously, a lot of these notes I had to go back and reread because a lot of these notes, when we originally did this topic on episode 10, we were each going to come in with two people.
Yep.
And we talked so long, we only got through the one each.
Yep.
So Elvis was going to be my second person for that show.
Yeah.
So going back through my notes, I found where it was talking about. Well, let me see where I can find it again real quick. The boom, 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 boom. So in 1960, Elvis had a hit called "It's Now or Never."
I think I've heard that song before.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was a pretty popular song.
Yeah.
But anyway, it inspired. There was a prisoner in jail at the time who was so inspired by that song, he vowed to pursue a music career after getting released. That artist was Barry White.
Really?
Yeah, he was in jail serving a 4-month sentence for stealing tires.
Huh.
Not that I'm a Barry White fan.
No, but I mean, he held true to his whatever, his plan or his
vow,
his convictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like, there's another example of inspiring. Barry White. That's a very different kind of music.
It's cyclical to a degree. You know, Elvis was probably heavily influenced by black artists, and there were black artists who were inspired by him. So that's why I've never cultural appropriation as far as music goes. I've never really, I know it's there,
yeah,
but it's never been. I've never seen it as a problem because it's the human song.
Yeah.
You know, you can pinpoint where these things come from culturally, and regionally. But it's all of ours as far as at least it should be.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and also a couple other interesting facts about Elvis. He was a distant relative to Abraham Lincoln. Oh, I thought that was kind of interesting. I guess not. Obviously, it wasn't interesting in Ian's world.
No, not really. No. Would have been more interesting if he was like a distant relative to, say, like, I don't know. Abraham Lincoln it's like, yeah, okay. I don't know.
I'd like to be a distant relative to. I guess I'm like a distant. I try.
I think we're all distant relatives to somebody.
To somebody,
yeah.
obviously, to somebody.
To
but
somebody,
no,
yeah.
I traced my family tree back to like the 1400s, and
Uh-huh.
I was actually able to go further back than that, but I kind of stopped because I got to a distant relative who was the Bishop of London in the 1400s.
That's unfortunate.
But he was also. Why is that unfortunate?
I don't know. I don't like.
But
clergy.
he was the cousin of the king.
Okay, which would be why he was the high ranking,
or the brother, or there was some like close family.
I think
relationship.
it would have been like a cousin. I think brothers because they're too close. To succession.
Yeah, that's true. So that had been a cousin. So like, okay, so then I could connect it there and actually even go further back through the royal bloodline. But
yeah, but it wouldn't be connected to the royal bloodline that currently sits on the throne. The Tudors,
correct,
came from Germany.
Correct. Yeah.
So
correct.
they took over. They adopted the bloodline of the previous monarchy, but they didn't. They don't hold any connection.
You are correct.
Yes.
But I thought I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I can't argue with his place in history as far as an influencer. No question there. I don't have to like his music. It doesn't change anything.
No,
I just don't. So, just like, well, the same thing with Ian Anderson. I mean, and Ian Anderson is even a better example of that, because I would say that Jethro Tull's music is not meant to be. It's not meant for a mass audience.
I think a lot of music is that way, though.
Not so much as Tull is, though. I mean, Tull is very different. Ian Anderson's is used to the language, the music, the just the very lack of any poppiness for the most part.
Yeah.
It's catchy to the right people. It's not meant to be catchy to everybody. Whereas,
I mean, it's worked for a long time, so
it has, and for what it's worth, he's 72 years old. He's been doing it for 51 years, and he's still doing it today. He still sells out theaters every show he goes to. So I would be lying. It's kind of like we've had this discussion about why is Tull not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, for a long time I took it. I was like, I don't understand why no one likes this stuff. Why isn't this stuff more popular? It wasn't written to be. It is not meant to be. Whereas something like an Elvis, it was meant to be popular. Yeah, exactly. It was by design popular. You know, so you know, for what it's worth, that's the beauty of the world we live in too. That there's so much choice. You know, we don't have to like everything.
No. Well, I mean, hopefully it doesn't take us another 80 episodes to do another one.
No,
of these
I think
shows.
we could make it a more regular thing. But I mean, with our record album episodes every month, we don't want to do it monthly.
No,
I mean that's half the month every month the same thing. So. Yeah. But maybe let's say 10 more episodes or 20 episodes.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I have enjoyed about doing a weekly show is I think it gives us more
freedom,
the more flexibility to talk about different things and not kind of do something kind of repetitive.
Right.
I don't know. It's I don't know. Like I said, it gives us more flexibility.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So just a little bit of a struggle with our schedules. That's all.
Yeah, the last couple of episodes, the last month's been kind of rough, but we'll get it all figured out.
I think, starting with the next episode, it'll be the next episode. We'll be back on our normal schedules.
Hopefully,
at least as far as our recording. So,
well, all right, man. I
think my vacation's gonna be starting.
Yeah, you bastard.
You had one in July, I think.
Something like that. Beginning of August, but
yeah. So I was like saying the same thing to you. I was like, "You son of a bitch! I fucking hate you."
All right, man. Anything else to add?
No, that's it. Hey, you know what? If you've never listened to Elvis and you've never listened to Ian Anderson or Jethro Tull, just give it a shot. Fuck yeah. Elvis obviously has 600 songs. Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson / Ian Anderson. To me, they're the same. Lump them together.
Yeah.
There's a good 30 albums, 25 albums, whatever. You know. I'm sure there's something in there you might like, and if not, fuck
maybe
it. You don't have to like everything.
And that's kind of what I've always said is, especially in today's age where you've got things like Spotify, Apple Music. It's like if you got one of those, if you have a streaming service,
there's no excuse not to try new things.
Exactly. I'm always looking for different stuff. Absolutely. I'm always looking for stuff. Now, granted, a lot of it's garbage.
That's also true.
Like witch vomit, but you know it's. Yeah, I still kind of try to branch out.
You know what? I just found a new band the other day. I don't remember the name of it because I didn't have a lot of time. I was doing it on my lunch, but I was listening to something and I was like, oh, I wonder, because you know, like Spotify and Apple have like similar artists.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was listening to, but I was like, oh, look, they're similar artists, and I just started like clicking on them and listening to some songs, and I found one that actually was pretty good. I just don't remember what it was.
Well, maybe we can talk about that on our music show.
You know what? We will. I'll save it.
Which will be our next episode. How about that?
I'll save it for that.
Okay.
So, because I haven't bought a lot of records this month, so I'm not going to have a lot to talk about beyond that.
Yeah, I haven't bought a whole lot either.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 or 15.
I mean, I'm going to go this week, I think, but I still don't see myself buying a lot before then. So.
Yeah, I got you. All right, man. Well, any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@lifeandjournalpodcast.com. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter and all that jazz. Check us out on YouTube and on Spotify, too.
Yep,
Well, all right. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the rain. Got you took over if you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, them niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bruh. We taking the dub, hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.